and go.
Well, hello again, everyone. Welcome back to the Estate Planning Lawcast. I am Matt Deliberato from the Deliberato Law Center in Cleveland, Ohio. For all of you listening in Northeast Ohio, we serve a big variety of communities in and around Cleveland. And with me today is a very good friend, Andrew.
Andrew. Oh, thank you. Andrew Jaloza, thank you from the Estate Planning and Elder Law Group here in Queens, New York. So we have our lawcast. We call it the Queens to Cleveland, an estate planning lawcast that two attorneys trying to tell you what different things about our two cities and how the law works differently in various estate planning and elder law issues. We service Queens and the other four boroughs of New York City, as well as some of the areas in Western Long Island and southern Westchester County. So we have a little decent range as well as Matt does, and we help lots of people. What are we going to talk about today, Matt?
Well, today is Medicaid, one of our favorite topics, right?
Yeah.
I think that, just to take a pause, I can't believe we're 7, 8 episodes in. This is unbelievable. It's been a lot of fun. And I just wanted to just thank everybody for sticking with us. And hopefully this is a good use of our time. We're going to remind you again at the end, but really we want you to give us your feedback. So please don't forget to do that. But today is about Medicaid. What the heck is Medicaid, Andrew?
Medicaid is a federal program started in 1965. Most people look and think about Medicaid as being, insurance that covers poor people or indigent people who don't have other coverage. But there are several programs, and I'll go into that in 1 second. It was also created at the same time Medicare was created. So Medicare is health insurance for people 65 and over, unless you have certain disabilities. And Medicaid also, 65 and over is when one of the eligibilities, disabled, and if you're elderly and you're unable to take care of your activities of daily living, or you are disabled, you qualify for Medicaid and may qualify before 65 if you medically qualify, meaning you have impairments of your activities of daily living. When we talk about long-term care, is one of the aspects of Medicaid. And in Cleveland, do you have community Medicaid like we do in New York, Matt?
Yes, we do. We do. We have community Medicaid as well as the long-term care component. You know, it's interesting. Medicaid is the smallest federal law you'll probably ever read, but it's really administered by the states, right? I just wanted to throw that in there. So they must comply with federal guidelines and regulations, but each state has their own rules and guidelines, and that's a perfect example of why Andrew just says, hey, what about in Cleveland? What about in Ohio, right? Ohio and New York, very, very different, but the same in Medicaid. Isn't that true?
Yeah, different and the same. In fact, as Matt says, it's a program that's, it's a federal program in partnership with the states, and it's often administered on a county by county basis. You can have
Right.
different rules from one county to the next. So
True.
depending upon where you're filing your application, and who you're filing with, because we also find that clerks, that the caseworkers at Medicaid, lovely people, hardworking people, but sometimes they just are wrong. they're wrong on they're wrong on
Right.
what they say the law is. It's not the law. It's how they either understand the law or how they're choosing to administer the law. And we
Right.
have to. That's why you probably need an estate planning and elder law attorney to deal with filing Medicaid on your own behalf for long-term care if you're doing it, because we understand the nuances of what the system is. There's like really no, well, there is some uniformity because that's what it is. It's a single program, but it is definitely a case by case and county by county and person by person difference in how it's administered and what will be approved.
True. And it's just all based on income and assets, isn't it? It really
Yeah.
comes down to what you have and what you've done in the last 5 years. Medicaid has a 5-year look back. And so let's say I need Medicaid tomorrow. they're going to say, okay, what did you do in the last 5 years? And maybe this is a good point to talk about proper and improper transfers, if you don't
Yeah,
mind.
yes, sir. Yeah, so what Matt is saying is that Medicaid has a look back period. I think that our look back periods are different. We'll diverge when we talk about more about community Medicaid. So nursing
Yeah.
home Medicaid in New York has a 5 year look back, just like Matt was saying. And what that means is that when you apply to get Medicaid, they say, okay, you have X number of assets. You fit within our guidelines and now you're eligible. However, how about this question? What did you give away in the last 60 months? In other words, the transfer that we're talking about, the legal jargon, it's called a non compensated transfer. The layman's language is, what did you gift away during that period? So for every gift you give, there is a potential penalty, meaning that when you gave it away, it created a penalty measured in months. And how we figure out what the penalty is, we take the amount of property that you gave away during the 60-month period, you divide it by the average nursing home cost for 1 month, which in New York is around $14,000 right now. And
Wow, we're
then
at
you,
$7,400.
yeah. So $14,000. Well, that's the average cost according to the federal government. The average nursing home cost actually in a private pay bed is $15,000 to $17,000, and as much as $20,000, say in Manhattan, New York City, the Big
Wow,
Apple. We're looking at $20,000 a month maybe for a private bed.
that's
So
incredible.
you're right, exactly. So that look back period creates a penalty if you've given away any property during that time. So, the guidelines for us around community Medicaid changed at the beginning of the pandemic. So in April of 2020, they passed the rule saying that we're going to have a 2.5 or 30 month, 2.5 year or 30 month look back period for community Medicaid. Are you
Hmm,
saying that you have a 5 year look back for community Medicaid as well as
that's
nursing home?
correct. Yeah, Ohio is 5 years across the board. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Well, we have a new look back period. We had a 30-day look back period until they passed that law in April of 2020 to add a
oh wow.
add a look back period and a penalty period for community Medicaid.
Wow.
Before that, you can just wait till you got sick and then, apply, do whatever transfers you had to do, wait a month or 2 months until you had clear statements showing no transfers, and then you can qualify for Medicaid without any penalty.
Wow.
That was how it exists right this moment. And very shortly, the implementation of that look back will happen because the federal government is lifting the public health emergency that was the pandemic, which prevented New York from implementing that rule.
Mhm.
So going forward
Interesting.
shortly.
Yeah, that's interesting. And just taking one step back, if you don't mind, when we talk about gifting, what is considered a gift? If I give you, you know, $100,000 for a home to buy a home, that's considered a compensated transfer. But if I give you $5,000 to paint my house, is that, and you're my son, they may look at that and say, well, what does it really cost to paint your house? And we find out that it's really more like $3,000. So even partial transfers could be considered gifts as opposed to uncompensated. So the whole point of this is really to just have you think about what you're doing before you do it. So everybody says, oh, I heard you can gift $10,000 to any person you want. Or, well, that's now 17, but that's for gift tax purposes. For Medicaid, they look at every dollar. And so we, as elder law attorneys, you need to be considering planning even before we talk about Medicaid, because everything you do will be subject to that 5 year look back.
That's a very good point. You just, like some people say, can I just go to any attorney to deal with Medicaid? I mean,
Right,
would you go to the person who's in divorce court on Tuesday and traffic court on Thursday to do your Medicaid planning on Friday?
right.
Maybe not the greatest idea, considering that it is tricky because there are just many different considerations. Because when you have a situation where you're making a transfer for lowering your estate taxes, you're definitely going to affect your eligibility for Medicaid. As
Absolutely.
a gift, whether it's a partial gift or a full gift, If you get back less than fair market value when you transfer away property, so as Matt says, if you buy something, now you have that asset. That asset counts as an asset now. If you take that money and you give your child a wedding present of $15,000, that's a gift. Is it allowable? Yes. Is there any gift tax? No. Is it below the limit that you can give away without having to file even a gift tax return? Yes. But it will still count against you when you're computing whether you're eligible for Medicaid or not, as well as
Right.
any other piece of property you give away and don't receive fair market value for. So those
Exactly.
are all non-compensated transfers.
Yeah, and that's so important. I don't want to sound repetitive, but you really need an attorney on your side when you're thinking about making a gifting plan to your family at any point. But besides that, let's get back to Medicaid. A little bit draws back in, right? We went off a
Yeah.
little bit, but
Well, I think we
um,
covered something that was important because,
yeah,
how many times do people come into you and explain to you what the transfers are, or how many that they made, or how many come in and find another 3 life insurance policies?
right, right. Well,
Right, you're in the process.
yeah, I just had a family come in and they said, well, we saw an attorney years ago and he said, well, just transfer everything out of their name. And they
Right.
did. And then they both needed long-term care within 3 years. And now they're coming to us and like, well, this attorney, I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. This attorney did not know what he was talking about, or she, whoever it was.
Right.
And, it just happens all the time. It's just another real world example of why planning is so important with the right attorney.
Absolutely. I've had ones where we're in the process of filing and they found 17 life insurance policies that the father had in the closet. And
Yeah.
we're trying to do planning for the mother. Father had passed away some time ago. We have protected a significantly valued house. And now they come and they say we have 17 life insurance policies we didn't know about after we already filed the application.
Oh my
So
gosh.
it's important to be thorough. It's
Yes.
very important to be accurate. And, without that accuracy, it's very difficult for us to help. But it's good to be in the hands of someone who knows what they're doing when that happens, though.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think that, we just had a case where we had a family come in and the same type of thing. We found an asset. I mean, we have to disclose it, right? There's no getting around it, but unfortunately the timing is off. And so it's why even in your estate planning, you should have your documents in your binder along with a list of your assets. Where is everything? If I have a stroke tomorrow, who knows where my stuff is and where to access it and how to access it?
True.
Important stuff. Yeah.
And it's also a matter of timing too, right? So
Yes.
if you want to have the best and or the maximum protection from going and doing a plan to deal with Medicaid or deal with long-term care costs, however we refer to it, you need to start in a way that makes you feel comfortable, obviously, because you have to make some changes to the assets that you have. And we'll talk more about that in the next episode of our podcast, where we talk about how we use trust and how we use strategies to help people plan for Medicaid. But
Mm.
the point is that all of your assets count, and to get the clock ticking yourself on that look back period is a very important thing, because once you make that transfer, you're actually creating your own look back period. And if you do it in an intentional way with a plan in mind, again, it comes down to, as Matt said before, this practice of estate planning and elder law is not about documents, although documents are part of it. It's really about the planning. You've proper planning by someone who has expertise is really and discernment, right? So we now have AI in our world, and they're threatening that it's going to take over lawyers. I don't know how you're going to explain it to the AI people, whatever that is. But how do you
Whatever.
explain all those nuances of what the assets are and what type of assets they are, and how do you put that all in to the
Right.
AI bot and have them spit out your Medicaid plan? I don't
Right.
know.
Right. No, I don't. I don't. But I'll tell you, Medicaid is becoming, we always say, how will you pay for care? And you might have long-term care insurance. It may be a good time to mention that guarantees results, right? It does what it's supposed to do, but it's very costly, so most people don't go that route. It's just a matter of Medicaid to me is a system you've paid into your entire lifetime. Every paycheck you've had, you've put money into this system. Now the government comes back and says, okay, but use every penny you have, and then we'll cover you. It just doesn't feel or sound right, and nor should it be for you. So again, part two of Medicaid part two will be all about trust and how we do this.
Right. And it's important to know that we can always protect at least half of your assets. So if you come to do planning and someone who you've planned for, or if you've planned and you get sick or they get sick, that they need help sometime within that look back period, it's still going to protect a significant amount of your assets. And usually half to three quarters is what we on average find out that we can protect. Or don't do anything, just wait until you need it, and you may not protect any of your assets. You may have to spend down most of your assets.
Yeah,
At $15,000 a month here, as it is in New York State, you're talking about $180,000 of post-tax dollars per year will get spent down on full-time care in a nursing home, which to me
yeah.
is a lot of money.
A lot of money. And, you know, I even have people say, I'm not worried, or I've had financial advisors saying, oh, I'm not worried. My client's rich enough. They'll be self-pay. Well, no one, I don't think, wants to be self-pay. And if you do, what is it estimated? I think 2.5 to 2.75 million you have to have in income producing assets to generate enough income to just pay for that nursing home care. And of course, as that cost goes up, so does that number. So if you don't want to touch your principal and you don't have almost $3 million to pay for yourself, then we definitely need to plan.
Yeah, and exactly. The other thing is most people think that you have to give away all of your assets to your children or to somebody else in order to protect them.
Right,
That's just a Medicaid myth. It's a
right.
Medicaid myth because someone heard something, and then by the time they pass it around, it turns into something different. And they also
Yes.
talk about like they can take your home away. They don't take your home away either. It's not Medicaid has no,
They don't want your home.
they don't want a home. They have their homes. So it's to clear those things up. You know, when you do give away things, it creates a penalty like we talked about.
Mhm.
They do come after you potentially because they have to. The states are under the mandate to recover whatever they can in the benefits that they gave away once you've passed away. That process is called estate recovery. So Medicaid planning protects against estate recovery. You don't have to give it to the government or pay back those whatever those benefits were to the government before the property goes to your family. So
Exactly.
it, planning in advance, as always, and I know that you, I'm sure, preach pre-planning as the best option possible. Pre-planning is really necessary now in this world because no matter what long-term care benefit you're looking for, whether it's community Medicaid, whether it's skilled nursing facility Medicaid, or even whether it's veterans, whether it's veterans benefits under the VA aid and attendance program, you need to plan in advance because all of those programs, every single long-term care payer has a look back period now. And if you plan in advance because you've chosen to take control of that, then you get the benefit of doing that.
Well, and as you just said, it's never too late, but it's certainly never too early. Somebody used to ask me, when is it time to start planning? I said, how old are you? That's exactly the time to start planning, right? Right now, right where you are. Get it done.
Right.
Well,
If
good.
not now, when?
Yes, right, right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Forget it. Good.
I think we've
Excellent.
given some of the bare bones, and I
Yes.
think that hopefully our listening audience has a better understanding of what Medicaid is on a general basis. And I think that gives us the opportunity to come back here next time and talk a little bit more about the tools we use, the strategies we use, some of what the current asset and income limits are, and how we deal with planning in both of our individual cities, and to get people Medicaid.
Excellent. I look forward to it. It's going to be a great episode, just like all of them.
And how do they reach us?
Oh, you can reach me at info@icanprotect.com. Our website obviously is icanprotect.com, and we're located in Cleveland, Ohio. And you?
And you can reach us at epelg.com, our website. You reach us at info@epelg.com. That's the Estate Planning and Elder Law Group in Queens, New York, Glendale, New York, or Andrew L. Jaloza and Associates. You can find us either way. And we service everything from beginning plans to Medicaid planning, state administration, etc. And I look forward
Same
to
here.
hearing from you.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Have a wonderful week, everybody, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Matt.
All right.